He's already feeling awkward.
I like the preamble having a glitch.
A glitch. I like it.
Because that's the first and only glitch you're going to have with this podcast. I can fully imagine.
Apart from a failed one earlier.
Don't mention it.
Fail's a big word.
Fail is a big word.
Yeah, I'd say it was uneducated terror.
Uneducated terror.
The good news is we didn't do 20 plus minutes and then check. Like we could have maybe done just 2 minutes and checked.
No, it's lucky really that we did it the proper way. Yeah, we went straight into it.
Good job I've not got meetings all this afternoon, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're not necessary. They're only with the main boss man of the company. You don't need to be there. You don't need. He knows what we're doing.
There's always a hotel.
There's always a hotel. Yeah, you'll be there tonight.
It'll only be a quick written warning.
Yeah, it's only a written warning. It's not too necessary. Just bring your mic up a tiny bit towards you, a bit more again, Frank, because you're a little bit.
Frank's got floppy mic syndrome.
Yes, it happens at my age.
The old mic stand starts to
And
curve
there we
a
are.
bit.
We at least we got the soundbite we needed.
That's it, guys.
Just droops off now and again.
Just droops off now and again.
This podcast is in association with Cialis.
Yes, sponsored by Viagra.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I don't know if we can put that in. I feel like we should.
I think
Oh,
we
of
should
course
try.
you
I think
can.
we should try to.
Yeah.
It's only a bit of a grin, isn't
Ed looks up for it.
Don't see why not.
Don't
Yeah.
see why not.
Yeah.
it? You know, they might actually sponsor us.
You never know. Frank's hoping. He's been spending a fortune for years.
Frank's been going, right, I need to somehow get this subscription fee down. How can I do? If I mention the podcast, I wonder if I'm going to get just a couple of pills. That's all I need.
Is that what we're doing, is it?
What?
Getting
Trying to get
sponsors.
sponsors.
Yeah, we want.
Can I mention Peroni? I quite like
Peroni.
Nice,
Yeah,
nice.
Peroni would be a good one. I'm a John Smith's man.
Yeah.
if that's possible.
Monjaro, if Monjaro are out there looking for a eligible bachelor, I'll pitch in.
This is the guy. Frank, what are you going with? Are you just sticking with the blue pills for your sponsor, or maybe I don't know?
Well,
Yeah.
Bisto.
No,
or?
let's not get too giddy with this. I know what the obvious thing is. Just for men.
Just for men. Is that not your natural hair colour?
No.
I'd have never guessed. I'd have
No,
never
that's-
guessed.
No. I've not got matching collars and cuffs.
because you have to have pink hair, wouldn't you?
Too much information.
Trakker red, obviously.
Yeah, obviously.
Can we confirm the Pantone colour from over there, Ben, if you know the number?
The optimum time to recast is every 2 hours.
I think boiler fishing got a better chance of getting bigger fish.
Sat there loads with them fizzing all over me in the morning, and I can't get a bite.
How would you know it's particle water? What makes you go to water and think it's a particle water?
No, my angling probably in the last 10 years has ramped up 25 years worth of ability.
The longest I left one out there was 2 hours short of 7 days.
The tension strap has caught me square underneath the neck. So I've now got a 1.5 man bivvy pulling me by the neck like, oh.
I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning with waves hitting the bed chair.
For a brief moment, I thought this is going to be the world's worst death story.
Yeah, it's a tension. Then it stopped halfway and just went.
Getting a loudspeaker and announcing to everyone you've lost your cherry.
I don't use a ground sheet for 99% of my fishing because I'm hard as nails.
If your wife's pregnant, I'll deliver that as well.
Trakker Talk, a carp fishing podcast.
So, welcome to Trakker Talk, a carp fishing podcast. Sat around the table today, we have got Ed Betteridge, Frank Warwick, John Flewin, and myself, your host, Adam Johnston. And it's exciting times, isn't it? I say first podcast, second podcast of the day. The first one went a little bit wrong. We won't mention that, though.
It wasn't a full podcast.
No, it was only half of
It was
the
just
day.
a pod.
It was pod, yeah. It was almost like the graphic where we
It was nearly pod and gap
still,
cast, yeah.
still can't. But yeah, exciting times, obviously. Ed, something that you've pushed through for, it was an idea we came with and something that you've pushed through for us to do. I think it's going to be good.
Yeah, it's something a bit different for us, and it's something we've sort of borrowed from other industries as well as the carp industry as well. And I just think it works when there's a few people on a podcast rather than just one person talking to another. It just adds a bit more dimension to it, I think. So
100%. I mean, dimension. You've got the two noddies one side of the table and two professional anglers the other side. I'll let the viewers decide which ones.
Oh no, essentially they're the better ones. I don't think the audience need to decide that.
No.
It's quite literally decided for us.
It was that one time we both caught fish, but it was many moons ago.
Yeah.
Many moons ago. So let's get started with it. What's been going on with everyone? So Ed, first of all, what's been happening with your winter because we're well into December now.
We are, yeah. Show season happened. That's what happened.
Is that it? Game over? No fishing. Show season's on.
I haven't fished since October. No, we went to Parker, didn't we, in October?
Yeah.
And I haven't fished since we got back. So it's just been, just busy since then. I know there's only been one show in the UK so far, which has been the Sandown show.
Yep.
But for me and Frank, we went to the Hungary show, didn't we?
Yeah, the Budapest one. It was brilliant.
Yeah, Ponty.
Enjoy that one.
Yeah, it was good. It's a nice place to go anyhow.
Is it a big show or?
I wouldn't say it's massive, but it's big enough.
Those European shows generally dwarf the UK's, don't they? They're so immense, a lot of them.
Yeah, Den Bosch is pretty cool. Prague is huge
Massive.
as well.
Yeah,
so.
that's massive. It's the biggest one I've ever been to.
Yeah.
That's the one that I really want to go to, Prague.
I went last year and it was 4 days long.
You joking?
It starts early in the morning, don't finish till nearly 7 o'clock in the evening.
And is it that busy like all 4 days, or is it?
Oh my God, I've never seen that like it. I think there was 75,000 people went through there.
Really?
Yeah, at least.
Blimey heck. So proper.
That's a show.
That is a
That's
show.
a show.
That's not a few thousand turning up and
No.
when looking at the gear.
It's the number one sport in the Czech Republic.
Fishing is?
Mm.
Oh, really? I didn't know
Yeah.
that. I know.
Yeah.
Did it used to be the number one sport in the UK?
I think it's the most participated
Yeah, it
sport.
is, yeah.
It's
Not
the most
everybody plays
participated
football.
sport, but yeah.
I know every time I'm at the pub or whatever with friends and they go like, oh, you just go fishing all the time. That's all you do. And I go, yeah, it's the most part. They always argue with me. It's got to be football. It's got, and the old Google comes out. I think I got proven wrong last time, and ChatGPT, as it does, fact checked the living daylights out of me. And I think it was like 2012. It was the biggest, and since then, it has been. Fishing is a little bit on decline, I'd say, in the UK now for what it was at one point. But we're seeing, but they're busy. It's busier than ever, isn't it?
Everywhere's packed.
I mean, we went, didn't we, to Bluebell last week, and it was rammed.
Yeah.
Like freezing cold, December, not doing fish.
Yeah.
No excuses for why we didn't catch
The
many.
previous 2 weeks, there was just a handful on the whole complex.
And then it's just filled up when we
Well,
got there.
the weather slightly improved, didn't it? When
We did hear you were coming as well, Frank, the old Bluebell legend that you are.
I don't know.
You've done enough time on there over the years, and I'll tell you what, I've been out with loads of people. I've never had that many people coming over to somebody constantly. And what blew my mind is that you remember every one of them.
Yeah.
I forget my wife's face when I've not seen her for a few days. Never mind that.
It was a guy that I'd not seen for 30 years. And he came over and I remembered him straight away.
Yeah, you are blooming good with that. I'd say it's one of the really cool things to have.
Facial Rain Man, isn't he?
Facial Rain Man. Not only does he have his premonitions and psychic readings.
Sounds a bit rude, that, John.
No, it's good, isn't it? I think he was a talented guy. Man was counting without using his fingers or a calculator.
It was impressive. It was impressive. What have you been on with, John? Anything?
Drinking Dr. Pepper, try and make it look like it's a cup of tea.
Other than that,
I've actually conveniently, as Ed said, they've been at shows. I conveniently booked myself a family holiday at the start of the show season just to warm myself up, ready for it. Because I said I have got a couple of shows to go to, which I do love going to. But it just so happened that I wanted Winter Sun as well. So, and I have done a little bit of fishing, which we can't quite talk about yet. But I have been fishing, and I've actually caught some fish, which is a complete rarity.
you know the weather's good when you're catching a few in December. And then, it has been manic on it recently with the, it's that time of year now where we're trying to get out filming stuff before it gets really cold. Like you say, you're into show season. Frank's getting dragged pillar to post with shows and out on filming for the same two reasons. And I've been painting a wall. And what a bloody good wall it is as well. If
with
you're
your
listening.
hands by the look of it.
It's how you did them stripes. That's fantastic.
I went for the zebra design. Yeah, I thought it was a bit more Africa. That's what I went with. It matched in with the greenery that we've got. If you're listening to this and not watching it, the wall is perfectly black. It looks like a chalkboard is the only way to describe it. Definitely not got any lines or marks on it, has it, John?
No, 100%. Really, really matte black. And quite literally, you can't see where the light bounces off the dimples.
Absolutely brilliant. I'm proud of it. I love the logo on there. Big love to Gaz Hood doing that one. Trakker Talk, or is it?
Trakker Talk.
Yeah,
you
were
that's a
saying
T.
different things before the recording started, but I think
Guys,
you
if you
don't
listen
want
to this, I was the one that said that looks like a T from the very start. It doesn't look like a potential R.
No, definitely not. So the whole thing for this podcast, I think every one of them we're going to try and have a little bit of a topic that we go into.
Yep.
Just keep it on track, because otherwise we're going to end up talking about general pub chitter chatter and not what's going on. But the thing that I think would be a great one for us to go into now, will be, obviously, a lot of people we should be going into winter fishing, but a lot of people are hanging their rods up and stuff for the winter now, and they're going to be going back out in the spring, and generally, new year, new beginnings. So how do you approach a new water for the first time? So I'm going to open it out to you first, Ed, because I know you tend to, although you'll bounce around with filming, you tend to pick a water and stick to it. So when you're getting a ticket and everything, how do you start? Are you a researcher? Are you a beta, a planner, or are you just go and wing it?
I research to a degree. So I want to know several things. I want to know the stock of the lake, both carp and sort of nuisance fish or the fish that are in there. I want to know the sort of rough depth of the lake. Is it really deep? Is it really shallow? Is it weedy? And then that's about it, really. I don't want to know about going rigs, going baits, going spots, all things like that. I've got a go-to approach, which I have taken to many, many lakes now, and it works more often than it's not. I'm not saying it 100% of the time it's the most effective thing, but as a go-to approach, it works everywhere I've taken it. And that is a kind of mainly boilie approach. You know, sometimes when we're fishing places like Parker and they've got like a pellet, it'd be daft not to put a bit of that in the mix because they're seeing hundreds and hundreds of kilos per month. But as a general approach, I fish boilie. I'll fish the same rigs. So one of my rigs I've used for ages, my little pop-up rig with a hinge on it. I use that everywhere. And then I like a wafter rig as well because not all fish feed in the same way. You know, I've seen fish feed in different ways, and I've seen one rig catch one fish at some venues and the other rig catch the other. So different fish feed in different ways. So I try and fish two rigs.
Generally just them two, though. Is that kind of your... I know people always talk about it, don't they? You see it on videos or in mags, or I have my three go-tos. And a lot of people, it's a load of rubbish, that, and they actually chop and change constantly. But are you very much a two-rig kind of guy?
Yeah.
99% of your fishing, let's say.
Yeah, if I don't get it right to start off with, and that approach that I do is not the most effective, then I will change. You know, I used last year, I used on Parker, I used a method ball because other people around me were catching on method mixers and whatever else, and that was alien to me, like a really short hook link and on a method ball. But now I've generally got two rigs that I go to and two rigs that I'll hit a water with, and then I'll work things out from there on in. So if I'm away for a week in France or wherever, I'll hit it with this approach. So, you know, like I say, a boilie approach, one on a hinge, one on a wafter, and then X amount of bait over the top. So if, you know, my go-to is probably a kilo of bait over each rod. 3 different spots, kilo of bait over each rod, and we see what happens. If it's a lower stock or if it's a cooler time of year, I might reduce that right down to half a kilo or a quarter a kilo or a couple of spoms or whatever else. But yeah, my go-to, kilo over each rod, mainly boilie. Sometimes a bit of crushed boilie, depends if it's, you know, bream and tench and nuisance fish there. But yeah, that's my main go-to approach that I hit a water with from the start, and then that leaves me room to adapt from there. I'm not one to look at the going rig, look at the going bait. I don't want to know somebody's wraps. You know, I don't want to, oh yeah, there's a great spot there at, 25 wraps, blah, 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 blah. I'd rather find my own spots and do my own thing to a degree and then work backwards from that. If somebody else is catching more than me, try and learn from that and work backwards. Or if the fish are doing something different, or are washing from a tree and feeding in a different way to what's going to be effective for me, then I will adapt. But I have got this one way of doing things from the outset, and I'll take that everywhere. So yeah, hitting a new water, it's all about learn what's in the lake, a little bit of topography of the lake, but I don't want to know all the details. I just don't, because then I just fish same as everybody else.
You want to go in really quiet. So with that, and I'll open it kind of to the rest of the table on that picking a target fish, and obviously for yourself as well, Ed, do you think sometimes catching that target fish quickly, so you're not going in, you're not finding out where that fish comes from, what it eat, you're going in very much with your not one dimensional, that's the wrong way to say it, but you're going in with your one route of fishing, that's your boilie fishing. You're good at it, so you've got to do it.
Yeah.
And you're so confident in it. But do you think that can mean that you've got to work your way through the stock to catch the big ones that you're after, or do you think that way of fishing on its own, like, deals itself to those bigger fish?
I think boilie fishing, you've got a better chance of getting bigger fish. I think your bigger fish do prefer a sort of boilie approach, a whole food approach, longer rigs, cruder, because I use quite long rigs. The shortest I tend to use is about 8 inches. I will go really, really short if that's not working, but my go-to approach is probably an 8.5, 9-inch rig, and then I'll move from there. If it's a weedy swim, and I'm fishing over light weed or silt, I don't mind going to 18 inches. I'll go longer rather than shorter, and that lends itself to me for catching bigger fish. The whole targeting fish thing will then come in along the way. So my first session, I won't be targeting that big fish. It'll be in the back of my mind, and that's why I've joined the lake. but I won't target it. I will fish to catch fish. And then as time moves on, as I'm sort of nicking a few fish here and there, I'll learn about the lake. And then at a certain point, it comes to a point, right, the big one's been seen there, I've seen it there, somebody else caught it from there, I've heard it's come from there. And you do learn these little patterns.
Yeah, you'll still try and try and build the pieces once you're on the lake rather than turning up with a headed way onto doing it, I suppose. For yourself, Frank, because obviously you've also done a lot of big fish fishing over the years.
Well,
but you've caught them quick as well, haven't you? That's why I asked.
Haven't. Basically, I've never joined a single venue ever that I can recall for specific big fish.
It's always been just a little bit of like going on. And
it's more about somewhere I fancy going.
Yeah, so it's more you're just joining it because you like the lake, really. Then.
It's the ambience. It's not just the fish. It's the where you sat is very important to me. You know, I don't like sitting somewhere that's ugly.
Yeah, you want to be somewhere for you'd
so
rather be somewhere beautiful with 20 pounders than somewhere horrible with 50 pounders.
So if it has big fishing, that's just an extra bonus. So basically, it's immaterial. So I've never targeted big fish. If they come, and they do, that's fine. But I don't think from my point of view, there's not specific things that have caught me big fish that I've set out on purpose to do. I've just caught everything, and then the big fish have either come early
or come along the
journey.
Way. Yeah.
But I enjoy the journey.
Yes,
it's not about it's it's almost like collecting football cards.
You're not just bounty hunting. Yeah.
No, I'm not. It loses its essence a bit, carp fishing, if you just want to go for out and out big fish all the time. Because what if you catch it straight away?
Well, that's it. I know
it kind of ruins.
It makes it hard work for you. Then, doesn't
Pack
it?
Up,
Really? Pack up, move
Yeah.
on.
Next one. Come on.
Just pull your mic a little bit closer for you, Frank. There, 'cause I can notice you coming in and out.
Obviously, yeah. I mean, what I do is, getting back to the original question, is I'll if I go on a new venue, obviously I want to be successful and try and maximise my time and catch as much as possible in a short space of time. So what I do is I weigh up what everyone else is doing, not in a nosy way. I never ask them loads of questions or anything. I just work out, for example, if they're not spomming at night, that's a viable, really good tactic to use. Because if you've never done it before and you suddenly start doing that, it adds another dimension to your fishing, especially if you've not got as much time.
What do you think it is with like the spomming either at night or putting the back? Do you think it's because obviously you are like the man of attraction in more ways than one, but when it comes to like baits and stuff, you're very attraction focused. But do you think it's that you're adding more oomph to the water column? Do you think it's a noise? Do you think it's a bit of both? Or?
Well, it's a mixture of those things. The fact is, I've noticed when I've done a lot of European fishing in particular, that if you just switch off and go to sleep, the action tends to fall away.
Yeah, it's something
on busy waters that are well stocked. So if you remain busy and you're feeding the fish, because what happens is, as soon as you stop feeding, the fish will move off to someone else's swim where there might be some food, or because there's nothing left, they'll move on. So I like to utilise that possibility of keeping them there. And if you spom at night, honestly, it's a great tactic. And when we first, I know it's sort of jumping back to Italy a bit, but when we first went, it was incredible. It was like tons of action. And then when the English had been going for 3 or 4 years, putting pressure on like we tend to do, we noticed that all the catch rates dropped dramatically. So the one thing to do was to spom at night and keep the feed going, and then the action just continued all the way through the night. So I started applying it to waters in England. Other people have onto it as well. That's why they've got spoms with lights on now and stuff like that. People are realising.
Yeah, people are noticing it's so effective. And I think it is more than just topping up in it. I think there's. Don't just spom to top up for a bite. I'm a big believer in like at bite time, put a couple of spoms out like 20 minutes before. I think it's a great tactic on a lot of waters now.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is, I like to also work out how often I should recast. It's a big feature of my fishing, because traditionally in England, people will let the so-called feeding time slip by till about 11 o'clock and think, I've not had anything in the feeding spell. I'll redo the rods. And then typically an hour before it gets dark, you redo the rods again. So they're the two key times when people redo the rods, unless they've had a bite, of course.
Yeah, that's when the commotion's happening. That's when you're not fishing, as it were.
And then you'll tend to top up with a bit of bait then. So all you've got is 2 key changes during the day, and the rest of the time's all a bit predictable. So if you work out, for example, that you should be spomming every 2 hours, recasting every 2 hours, because it's giving you more action, you've learned something. So if you time the rods,
you kind of almost know that, you can figure out it might take 3 hours for a bite, but that is the optimum.
Exactly.
It's a bit like a matchman timing their feeder.
Exactly that. And it might be that it's 8 hours. So if you do one rod where you recast every 8 hours and time it, one rod every 2 hours, one rod every 12 hours. At least you're learning something. If the rod that you recast regular is going off more regular, you think, well, this is a 2 hour water. All waters are different. So I noticed the Romanians, when they were match fishing, they all kept notes and alarm clocks years ago.
And they were just timing everything out from there, were they?
Yes, so the Romanian match anglers that I noticed some years ago, they all had clocks, the ones that were switched on, under the rods. And I knew what they were doing exactly, because I spoke to them and I said, what sort of water is this? And they went, this is a 2 hour water. With the optimum time to recast is every 2 hours. We worked that out over previous years, previous matches. So they'd worked out, especially with solid bags, because obviously if you're using solids, they're going to get stripped.
Yeah, it's how long they're lasting almost.
Yeah, so you've got to be much more on the ball if you're using solids. You don't just let it sit there for 8 hours. You know, it's normally been done and dusted by the nuisances by then, if they're in there.
Is that the 2 hours though because of the bags, or is that 2 hours because is it a trade off? If you were spotting 20 spoms out, would you do that every 2 hours? Would they still do that every 2 hours?
Yeah.
Oh, right,
they said that was they've realised that in a match, time's too precious to let any more time ebb away.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So whether it still applies to pleasure fishing as well, or when you're fishing for target fish or things, because there is an optimum time for every water that you will find if you keep notes that is helpful. All I'm saying is it does make life easier, and it takes a lot of the guesswork out if you start doing things scientifically and making notes and comparisons. Yeah. So it's just a nice little tip, really. That's something I always consider.
So that's something that you try and unlock that on any lake you're going on. Then as a new, like that'd be one of the big things that you try and unlock.
Yeah, because it's I know where I'm fishing at the moment without giving too much away. I've got that off to a fine art, and I've caught a lot of the big fish in there, and I keep repeat catching them, and I know how long to leave the rods. And everyone's saying, you're not going to put them back in. That's a long wait there. So I'll give you a clue on that one. It's not a quick job.
I never knew it was a long wait on Tar Farm.
Well, no, because the time that me and you went out, you left those rods soaked for 48 hours, and I had that bite on that 48-hour soak.
Yes.
We were packing up.
And I knew.
You knew. You said from the off that I'm going to have to keep at least one rod out until it either gets a bite or we go home.
Exactly.
And I never would have dreamed of doing that.
No, I know.
Now I apply it a little bit more, because that's like the sneaky little edge that I can do is cherry pick tactic.
Exactly, John. And one of the waters where it's the opposite end of the scale, which a lot of people know about, is Rainbow.
Yeah.
The longest I left one out there was 2 hours short of 7 days.
2 hours short. How can you trust that he's sat out there, not tanked? I know you're dropping it from the boat, but I'd just be terrified that someone's come in and frapped it up, or my bait's gone, or my hook's rusted blooming away over 7 days.
That's the difference between someone who's done it, tested it, looked at it.
This is the
and
thing.
Me and you, who wouldn't. I would have hives thinking about it.
I've left them for like 24 hours, but even then, sometimes I don't know what you guys like for like sharpening, but I'm a big hook sharpener, and you wind them in after 6 hours. Even when you've put all these coatings on and stuff, a lot of lakes are black.
Yeah, it depends on the sort of lake and the pH of the lake. And I'm 24 hours. Most of the lakes I fish are pretty tough. I mean, some aren't. Parco and a few of the other ones I fished aren't that tough. But my go-to is I'll get the rods sorted out at some point in the afternoon, and the plan is to get a bite the next day. That's the way I tend to fish. We tried it on Marpech when we went to there.
Yeah.
And we tried to leave them out for 48 hours, 72 hours. My hooks were coming back rusty as anything.
Yeah, you're just worrying that is there even a point there at that.
Yeah,
point
yeah.
aren't you,
The way Ed sharpens hooks.
Yeah, the way, with a pencil sharpener.
The most aggressive man sharpening hook I've ever seen.
It's got to be done. You know, I love a nice sharp hook, and you know these Trakker ones that we get, they're really sharp out of the packet. But I'm a bit lazy. I can't be bothered to tie rigs up all the time. So I'd rather nick a hook, point up, nick a point up, and just make it mega sharp.
Both of you do that. I've noticed. Frank, you'll sharpen them once they've been used, won't you?
Yeah,
to resharpen them. You're a big thing for that. Are you a pre or post fishing sharpener?
Do you know what? I loved sharpening hooks because I thought it made me look really cool. And then I kind of stopped it for a long time. And then in the last 3 sessions I've done, I've gone back to really sharpening, I got a bit of foam with them all nicked in, and I've caught.
This is my thing.
So now I'm panicking. I can't have wasted 20 years of carp fishing not sharpening hooks again. It's ridiculous. But I have gone back to it because, and as I said, like the blessing of what we get to do when we hang out with these guys that have caught a load of carp is I can cherry pick from, my angling probably in the last 10 years has ramped up 25 years worth of ability 100%. Because I can tap into Ed's 10 years and Frank's 25 and I can suck in and pull all those little bits. But when it comes to this new water tactic, and as I said, we talk about this because of obviously what we get to do, and we're very lucky to visit new waters a lot of the time. For me, a new water is a new water for 48 hours.
And that's all it is, yeah.
Very rarely, even I've got syndicates, and even though I've been on syndicates for many, many years, I don't consistently fish them enough to think new venue. But because my work is, John, go to this venue, do a film, I've got to suss that out ultra quick. So things that we talked about with Frank before about maybe making changes and adjusting, I've got to do that on a time frame of a much shorter spectrum of time because I need to get in, get out, get a fish, get a video, because otherwise you've got to phone Ed and tell him I've blanked again, and that's never the best phone call.
Never happy with a blank.
Never the best phone call to make.
Happy.
So I think when approaching a new water, and I say I don't want to take away from Frank because Frank's obviously still in the flow, it's very different to those guys because they're a new water, potentially it's going to become a campaign water, and my new water fishing is maybe 3 times a month. I've got a new water ahead of me. So a lot of these things, I don't have enough time to research. I don't have enough time to, so I go in with 3 different things that I'm comfortable in, along like Ed's lines, but I will change, I will adapt, and I will try to change very quickly sometimes. Something I learned from my good friend Ian Russell was, if you think you should have done it, do it. And I can quite happily change multiple times in a session, but then I might never ever fish there again.
That's the hard thing, isn't it, I suppose?
I might never ever fish there again. So you can suss it in 48 and then never fish it for the rest of your 48 years of that's left in you.
Or you might think you've sussed it, you've had a great session. Naturally, 2 weeks down the line, you might have gone again and got better and better on there. But you're just looking for that like instant result fishing.
Yeah. So for me, approaching a new water is about something I'm confident in and being varied and able and willing to change quite quickly to try and suss it in that. I've got 48 hours to suss it and get out.
And that's it, yeah. So with that, obviously, I know, Frank, you said obviously you try different tactics on different rods. You're going to try and find that timing thing that you think is quite key to venues. For you, John, when it comes to, and then Ed's very much, he fishes his way with his boilie. For you, are you a 5, 6, 7 different tactics kind of guy? Or are you, you know what works for you and you take it everywhere?
I will always start at a start point where I'm confident with, whether it be a boilie approach, whether it be a particle approach, and probably from the research, the tiny amount of research I would do is it a naturals water, is it boilies water, is it a particles water? And then from there, I can then very quickly go, right, I'll start with that. If that doesn't work, I've got to change it. I can't hang on for 48 hours, 72, 3 weeks. Next month, I'll try something different. Got to try and make the change ultimately very, very quickly.
See, how would you know it's a particle water? What makes you go to water and think it's a particle water?
That's the one bit of research. If I can speak to 10 people and 10 people will say it's this, or you can look at catch reports, you can try and decipher the best you can. And yet again, I'm only going with a guess. But the one thing that I will say with approaching a new water, and because I do it so often, my van is loaded. Every tactic is in that van. Whereas,
but do you fish waters that particle is the go-to approach above a boilie?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, some like Oxfordshire, Linear. And I know you'll argue because we had a conversation about something. And I've got no doubt that on its day, any tactic and every tactic will work on any and every lake. Mm-hmm. If you only fish a boilie approach, your results are going to show boilies work. If I only fish particle for a year, my captures will show, I had a great year on particles. Would I have had a better year on boilie? Would you have had a better year on particles? We will never know. Everything beyond what you're doing at that moment in time is a pure guess.
Yeah.
I think the main thing with them is, I'd say, coming from like everyone with where they're going to water. So obviously the main thing you are all trying to suss out, whether it's over a long time, short time, is something that you think works.
Yes.
So whether it's working better than everyone else, whether it's working great for you, I think confidence in a bottle, really, in it. You know, you've got your things you're confident in. Frank, you're probably a bit looser with, I'd say, compared to most people, with you will chop and change a hell of a lot.
Yeah, I do. I mean, one quick question on this same theme I wanted to ask Ed, because he's primarily a boilie angler. How's your winter results?
He's not caught anything this year, has he?
No. But I mean, over previous winters, I mean, you know, like a lot of people will switch to maggots, for example, in the winter.
I will change in winter.
Would you use?
Yeah,
other stuff
I will change in winter.
That's what I wanted to know.
Yeah,
So
that's what I was thinking. Is do you bullheadedly?
No.
Right. Okay.
Not always. I mean, I have done.
Self-flavoured.
But no, I will change in winter when I think the situation demands that. I've had a few good winters by sticking to boilie.
Yeah.
Just pre-baiting, just fishing bits and pieces.
Yeah.
Over boilie, over a pre-baited spot. But I've also done a lot on maggot and fishing little bits and pieces. But I don't know how many extra fish that's caught me. I mean, I think a natural on the right day with a lake with not many small fish in, or very, very dormant small fish. That is when I see as an approach that's going to be better than a boilie approach. But I cannot think of a circumstance in my fishing ever when particle has been better than boilie, or I've thought, I know this is particle. I'll just go in as boilie. Even if I think the particle approach might work, like bits and pieces, I'll break a few baits down.
Right.
I'll crumb a few baits.
And that's what I was about to say. When I say potentially particle, I don't necessarily mean hemp. I mean particles as in small bits. So maybe go down to an 8 mil boilie and crumb soaked in liquid. To me, that is a particle. It's not a whole round.
It's bits and pieces.
Yeah, it's bits and pieces.
It's pick and mix.
Yeah. So and as I said, yet again, a great tactic for when you are approaching the water is give them everything.
Yeah,
I'm a massive
buffet.
cocktail angler.
Yeah.
Like I put a bit of worm in with a bit of boilie and a bit of tiger and a bit of this, that, and the other, whatever can be and will be able to be used to mix it all up. But what about you, Ad?
So I'm kind of similar to you. My big thing, I've messed about. I've chopped and changed. I was a boilie angler for years. I went on to fishing bits and pieces because I couldn't afford that much boilie anymore. And then through the years, I've ended up very much on a 3-bait strategy for 99% of my fishing, and that's boilie, pellet, and corn.
Yeah.
Crumbed up boilie. I like a bitty mix, like I say. So 80-90% of it's crumb with my boilie, but literally equal parts boilie, pellet, and corn. And I don't know, unless it's full of bits, I'm always gonna use those 3. And everywhere I've taken it, it works. But I get the side for with Ed with the baiting approach. You know, I fish really tight, everything as neat as I can on the smallest spots I can. But it does make them hard to catch. I've sat there loads with them fizzing all over me in the morning, and I can't get a bite.
And that's where the boilie.
And that's where that is dangerous.
The spread is the one for me. You know, it's great. Don't get me wrong, I spot a fair bit tight, but then I'll put a wider range out as well.
I spot like that naturally.
Yeah, that's John's accurate spotting.
Pick 2 trees, get them in there.
Get them anywhere in there. But then with the research side of stuff, I am same as you. Don't get that much time for my own fishing. Get a lot of time for work fishing, where you're going to new venues and you're chopping and changing, and I will try and find out a bit about the venue. But I think you can be blinded by stuff on the internet when it comes to that point, because you can't do enough research for your random lake that you're going to. You know, a lot of these venues are quite obscure that we might be going to. But when I'm picking a venue for my personal fishing, I very much pick a fish day one. I've seen a photo of a fish. I want that one. And I know you say the journey's the way for yourself, and you say that
I'm more of a bounty hunter.
You'll figure it out as you go. I want to turn up. I want to know where that fish gets caught from. I want to know what weeks of the year it's been caught from every time it's been caught. I want to know every detail I can, because I don't want to be on that lake a long time. I'm really conscious of how many summers have we got, how many autumns have we got, and do I want to waste 4, 5, 6 years chasing a carp, 11 years chasing a carp, or do I want to go on and catch them quick? I want them in a year, 2 years, so I can go somewhere else. And I know like the bounty hunting thing can get a bit, I don't know, like the fish, some people might see it loses value, but for me, the reason I want to catch them quick and move on is because that fish is so valuable to me. I want to catch it. You know, it's kind of like when you see that beautiful woman that you want to chat up in the bar, you're going to go and chat her up. You're not going to keep hoping you bump into her every week. You're just going to go for it, aren't you? I'm that kind of guy.
Man, mate, don't worry about it.
And once you've gone in and caught that one, it opens up the door to catch others. Whether that works for the instance with a beautiful lady at the bar.
But 100% to be fair, because, a great one for it. I caught the one I wanted at Lake I'm on now this year, and I'm probably going to stay on.
Who had 20 minutes into the podcast, Adam brings up and catches target carp.
But I'd say, actually, it's opened it up that now the pressure's off. I'm enjoying my fishing on there more again now, and I'm probably going to do another season on there because some of the other fish do suddenly exist. And it's the first time I've done that and gone, maybe there is more to it. So I do get the trying to catch them along the way because I'm regretting not catching a few of them along the way now.
No, I'm targeting off. I'll go in with a target. And it doesn't have to be one fish.
No, you might have a list.
Yeah, so the water I'm on at the minute, there's no one fish that stands out. There's I think there's around 3, maybe 4 that are around sort of 49 to 51 sort of thing. There's one really old one, which I want, and probably one of the others, and that'll be me off then. You know, provided another ticket comes up, which I really hope does come up pretty soon. But yeah, so there won't be one target fish on that lake, but a lot of the lakes I fish, there'll be one target
it's
that I
the
want.
One.
It's the one. Yeah, it's the reason I joined the lake, and it's the one that I've got tunnel vision for to try and catch. Everything else that comes along the way, great. You know, and I'll enjoy myself along the way. You know, like Frank says, he joins for the water. I wouldn't necessarily join somewhere I hated fishing or somewhere that didn't appeal or anything like that. You know, I've looked at some fish in some waters and thought, oh, that's a real nice fish. And then you actually look at the water and it's an ugly water. It's rough as anything. It's public, and I've been like, it's not really for me. So it has to be the fish that I want to catch, and I have to enjoy fishing the water as well.
Yeah, it's a blend of both, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's
100%.
it.
It is.
So to kind of round off that section then, I'm going to go around the table and I just want your absolute crucial one tip that we're going to give to someone now that you think's your golden bit of knowledge because they're starting a new water. What's your one thing, quick bullet point of what they should do?
You're looking at me first.
Straight into you, Ed, yeah. Unlucky, you got the hot seat.
Stock. Look at the stock of the lake, whether it's carp, whether it's bream, tench, whatever, and make decisions from there because the amount of fish in that lake, carp or non-carp, will determine how much bait you put in, how often you recast, because you could be getting turned over on a regular basis. So yeah, that's my one tip. Look at the stock of the lake.
Frank, one tip for rocking up on a venue?
It's down to observation all the time.
You think it's be dynamic when you're there then?
Yeah, I think just use your eyes, walk around, see where the fish are spending the time, and then make your choices.
I wish I'd have said that.
Yeah, that was good at that one.
And
Can I have that one?
Because I was about to say, start with what you're confident in, and then do not be afraid to make a change when you think you should be making a change.
Yeah, I'd say the same thing. I'd say maximize that time that you're there. Try and do as much learning you can do beforehand. Get there, but not with a preconceived idea. I think what Frank says, he's so right. You need to get there and read the situation in front of you. But I still think bit of Ed's, you just want to make sure you're zoned right in on knowing what works.
But you did say one piece of advice.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's where you
most of all, enjoy it.
Yeah. So yeah, research, enjoy it, and get yourselves out and do it. I think approaching a new water's always exciting in it. It's a great time. You always get that buzz, don't you, on your first trip to a new lake? It's a mega time to be out. So going off from that, we're going to be running a separate one every episode where we're going to be asking viewers to send in a question. So if you have got any questions for the podcast, we want you to drop them down below in the comments, and we will pick one at random to answer every week. And what we're going to do for that person, Ed, that we pick, I'm sure you can find a way of giving them some free fishing gear.
Yeah, we'll give them a bit of terminal tackle. We've got a few bundles and a few packages of Trakker terminal tackle, so we'll do that for the one we pick out for every episode.
Yep, so on the upside then, that means Simon Dew, this week you are the winner of a terminal tackle bundle, because obviously we've been the first podcast, we had to put this out to all of the guys at HQ, and the question, I'm going to go around the table with this, nice and short ones, is your scariest moment on the bank. So, Ed, first of all.
Oh, first again?
Yeah,
great.
Yeah.
I think it's a theme.
Start
with Ed.
Yeah, awesome. The moment I've been the most afraid on the bank was I was down on Burfield, I think it was 2013, so about 12 years ago. And it was when the big winds had kicked up. So it was October 2013, and they'd give out some mega storms coming in. So I'd managed to get the rods out the night before. I managed to get all set up. And I'm there in this little swim called the compound swim, so fishing out to the big open body of lake. It's an area I think Terry Earn fish quite a lot. And it just gives you access to sort of an island straight in front, and then there's an island to your left-hand side and loads of open water in front. So I'd got the rods out there, and the winds were due to kick up, and they were kind of coming off the back, off the side sort of thing. And it was just horrendous winds, and it wasn't too bad during the night. And I can remember just before dawn, you know, when you hear a whistling coming through the trees, and then the gust stops and pulls back a bit. It just didn't stop. It just kept going, and just kept picking up with intensity all the time. And it's like, oh, this is not good. You know, I was in a wooded area. There was trees all around me, and it's just like I'm in. If something comes down here, I'm in serious trouble here. I've just got this little bivvy above me and this whole big coppice of trees all around me. And I'm like, and I could hear these ones cracking. I could hear branches falling down. I heard something in the water right next to me, and the wind's just getting stronger and stronger, and these gusts just aren't stopping at all. So I got in the sleeping bag, and I literally put my arms up like that in the sleeping bag, like that's not going to do a great deal if a massive willow comes down on you. And I heard a few cracks and a few things coming down, and then I heard this almighty crack, and I just thought, that's it. That's
game over.
That's it hitting me, and it just come down with a really loud bang, and there was about another 10-15 minutes of these mega winds till it all calmed down. But luckily, it didn't hit me; it didn't hit the bivvy. So I unzipped the bivvy once the winds had calmed down a little bit. I couldn't see the end of the rods. There was just that much stuff over the rods, and that many branches and twigs and bits of weed that had blown in and stuff. So I could see the alarms, and then the tips were just gone, even though they're a foot above the surface. It was just all covered. And I got out the bivvy, and one tree had come down and sort of hit another tree right at the top of the bivvy, so it stopped there. And another tree had come down and hit the tree that had fell over the top of the bivvy.
So somehow like crisscrossed.
So they crisscrossed each other, yeah. I mean, they weren't massive. They were kind of that sort of size. And then I looked behind me, and the big bang was a massive 100-year-old willow that had come down, and it had literally come down at an angle where it had come down and hit the car. And
really?
I could see I couldn't see the bonnet of my car because this tree had gone over it. I thought, that's my car wrote off. But luckily, it was the trunk just missed the front bumper and all the outside branches.
The bushy end had got
the bushy end had hit it. And there's a few dents everywhere and whatever else, but it'd gone over the car. If my car had been another 6 foot further forward, that car would have been written off. If the tree had come down the other way onto the bivvy, that had been... Yeah, I went stopping that with my arms.
It was your head, weren't holding
that you could not you couldn't even get your arms halfway around this willow. It was that big. It was huge. That would just flatten the bivvy, and that would have been game over. So yeah, that's the most concerned and scared I've ever been on the bank.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. I'm not surprised, to be fair. I've been in some storms, but nothing quite that bad. I don't think I'd want to be on the receiving end of that. Frank, you'll have some good ones here.
Yeah, 100%.
I was thinking of so many. I was thinking of a time when a Scousers tried to rob me fishing gear on the Trent and Mersey. That ended badly.
Other people might have done the same, though, Frank. Not just Scousers, yeah.
Yeah, I know that.
Other people from other areas.
He was a particularly big lad as well. Anyway, that was not particularly great. I've had trees come down and nearly hit me, similar as that. But I think the scariest one really was. I was on Cassian with Crowy, or as we affectionately like to call him, Crowbar. And basically, he... the lads always laugh
I wonder where this is going now.
That's his
I might have to start hitting the censor button.
Anyway, we were fishing the South Arm in winter, and it forecast a lot of rain. And we were separate. We're fishing different sides of the South Arm. And me and him were good mates, and we wanted to... I'd started having a couple of bites. I moved to this small island. So Crowy says, can I come on and get on the island with you? I said, yeah, okay, it's enough room for a couple of bivvies. It's a little tiny island, probably about the size of a quarter of a tennis court. And it was about 8 or 9 feet above the water at its peak with a couple of trees on it. I've got pictures of it, you should see it. And as I say, it forecast a lot of rain. And we got the bivvies up, got the rods out, happy as Larry. It started to rain torrential. And I started to get really worried about this rain because it was just, that heavy, crazy rain that's beating down continually. And I said, Croy, I'm getting worried about this. I put a stick next to the rods, and it was about 6 inches long, and within an hour, that was underwater. So we're moving the rods back. Anyway, sooner or later, we got tired, went to bed. I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning with waves hitting the bed chair.
You're joking.
The front of the bivvy, and we're right on top of this island. It was literally the size of the footprint of both bivvies. Rods were underwater. How we'd not heard it. And we both panicked. And it was coming up like literally in front of your eyes. And we managed to get the dinghy and get all the gear and salvage what we could and get off the island. And within about an hour, it was completely submerged underwater. And that's scary in the middle of the night.
When you realise how far out you are. And
yeah.
It's a
3 o'clock in the morning. It's not what you want, you know. It was like being on Blackpool seafront in a storm. The breakers were about 6 feet high.
Coming straight over.
And getting a little dinghy fully loaded like you see with all the gear back to the mainland was scary.
Yeah, I think the old fishing gear would have been getting left behind, would it, John?
Abandoned ship and swab.
I think there's a reason we like day tickets.
Yeah. Like, wouldn't come up my grandpa.
Or anything like that. Yeah, proper. So both of you guys like pretty extreme weather conditions, really. John, let's have a
wind
listen.
again, and it's not as cool, and I can't mention a cool venue because it wasn't a cool venue, it's just a venue. But absolute brutal wind, smashing into the bivvy, cameras shut off, nothing's going to work. It's just like bunker down a little bit. I remember hunkering on the end of my bed, and I don't use a ground sheet for 99% of my fishing because I'm hard as nails. And got the tensioning strap, and I'm just sat there, and this wind is going, and the bivvies, you know, it's like aggressively like shaking itself.
It's
you
like
can feel
pulsing.
like you can feel it knocking. And the next thing I know is it's gone from pitch black to bright light. The bivvy's flipped over, but the tension strap has caught me square underneath the neck. So I've now got a 1.5 man bivvy pulling me by the neck
like a big bonnet.
Yeah, like essentially like an old fashioned bonnet with a tension strap wrapped to my throat and this bivvy going. And I've literally, I've only had to duck out of it. But for a brief moment, I thought, this is going to be the world's worst death story.
Can you imagine somebody
strangled to death by a tension strap? But yeah, as I said, I've had a few like probably mentions where you shouldn't mention, like waders, overstepping waders a little bit in areas you shouldn't probably be wadering over depth. But I can genuinely remember in that probably what was 2 seconds of brief strangulation, thinking, how am I going to, I'm looking down from heaven going, or up from hell, wherever, going, you got killed by a tension strap. but yeah, in essence, that is scary.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say you're quite enjoying it for a minute.
Yeah. Well, years later.
You're that kind of guy as well, aren't you?
Yeah. I was trying to set it off, but now I love that.
Brilliant. So a bit, still wind, not quite as hardcore, but yeah, still, I suppose, scary when you're getting strangled.
Yeah.
On the edge of a bed, yeah.
Adam, is yours wind related?
Mine's not wind related. Mine's ice related. Not walking on ice or anything like that. I'm not. Well, I look
Dancing
stupid
on
enough,
ice.
but I'm not. Yeah, it was actually dancing on ice, 2006. No, it was. It was a middle of winter on a little local day ticket near me, and it's got like 3 islands scattered around the lake, and basically the lake had been frozen, and you know how they you get it quite a lot where they thaw from the edges first when it's been a real fast cold snap. So between myself and the island in front of me, there was basically, if you imagine a channel going from 2 rod lengths out all the way round, up like this narrow gap between me and the island, and then round the island. So there's a big floating chunk of ice straight out in front of me. And what I was doing was I was driving the bait boat round the ice, tightening up to it and dropping it, catching fish. It was working great. It's a proper silly runs water for a bit of fun in the winter, or it used to be anyway. And I took the bait boat round at about 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and the bait boat just stopped, wouldn't come back. Batteries died, or it's had a panic attack. My old knackered Pro Cat that wasn't too trusty. And I gave the guy, the fishery manager, a call, asked him if I could use the boat to go and get it. He said, yeah, chuck your life jacket on, mate. Go out and grab it. There's a boat a couple of pegs up. And went and got, like the rectangle big boats, just like the 1.8 metres.
252s, yeah.
Went and grabbed one of those. It was a couple of swims up. Stepped into it. And as I'm going out, you're kind of crunching your way through the ice. You're wobbling the boat a bit, thinking, I'll make the most of this. I'll crack some of the ice up as I'm going. And halfway out towards it, I sort of noticed the boat was sitting quite a lot lower in the water. It's pitch black, middle of the winter. As I've got out to the island, I'm going, it's close. The water's an inch from coming over the top of the boat. So it's abandoned mission, leave the bait boat, spin around and start rowing back. And as I was on my way back, probably 50, 60 yards, the boat started having water coming over the edges with it. So at this point, I'm like terrified. I'm quite a good swimmer, but I'm not a good swimmer in January wearing a full load of winter gear. I've got a life jacket on, but again, I don't think it's going to be much help. My mate wasn't coming in to save me, put it that way. And as I'm getting back to the bank, with about half a rod length or so from the bank, I've kind of stood up and tried to get to the front of the boat quick to sort of do a lurch. Boat's gone from underneath me. And basically what had happened was the twin wall that those boats are had a big old crack in the bottom of it that I had not noticed.
And the water come into the hull?
The boat itself, the hull was filling with water slowly to the point where it no longer worked. And I'd say, as I've strode out of the margins, up to my waist, soaking wet, no spare clothes, and me sat, well, I'd say in my kegs, but sat in nothing on the edge of a bed chair trying to dry myself and my clothes.
That's more scary than the story.
This is a scary moment for someone else.
I'd say that was probably the worst moment, because that was genuinely the moment on the bank where I was in the boat going, holy hell, like I'm not getting out of this without going in. And I thought, I've not had too many big bad weather ones, but that was probably the worst one I've had for a crap, I'm in trouble here moment on the bank, carp fishing anyway. But I think it doesn't probably compete still with Bergfield and big trees or on Cassian. Frank had big waves for his. It was flat calm when I was in the boat. Still
you got to ban these two from naming the venues that they. A big venue I was on once.
Yeah, to say a large, well-known. Don't be name dropping Terry Hearn's swimming there. But no, definitely a few different ones. Hopefully for Mr. Simon Dew, he's happy enough with those answers from us. Maybe we'll record him giving his one and we'll chuck it on as one of the trailers, because I bet he's got quite a scary story spending all that time with you on the bank doing challenge everything.
He's got absolutely nothing to do with the fishing.
Yeah, absolutely sod all. On that note of challenge everything, latest release just come out.
That was
what a segue. Can we just
that is a heck of a segue.
Professional.
I thought to myself, if he goes from there to there, that's game on.
That's it. Done.
That is game on.
Professional now at this.
So Challenge Everything, for anyone who hasn't watched it, is a series that myself and Simon Dew are doing. Simon Dewing. It said by the time this comes out, the most recent, which is kind of not the most recent, and we'll harp back to that in a second, will have been out. It says really good series, loving doing it with Si. It said, I've known Simon for many years before he joined here as a YouTuber, as a guy that went out fishing, catching, a really great videographer. So to be out on the bank with him and doing bits and pieces like that has been great. But the most recent one is a video from January of this year, where before anyone who watches this or has watched this and now is going to watch the podcast, the John that you see in the podcast now is not very different John, but he's a slightly slimmer, more svelte-looking John.
Half the man he once was.
Yeah, so one of the boys at rugby called me Joe the other day. So what do you mean, Joe? You say, well, you're half the man you used to be. That's class. But essentially, it was a very, very, very cold winter on Brasenose, and essentially, the days that we were meant to go, it was an ice skating rink. When we phoned up Roper, he's like, I don't think this is going to work for you, mate. I said, well, what do you mean? He said, well, there's no water. I said, what do you mean? There's a load of ice, he said, but there's not a scrap of water. But it was a good session for what it became, shall we say. But the whole challenge everything concept is really, really great, because it allows you guys at home and people who are watching to get involved, set some challenges, go out. And essentially what we're doing is we're pitting almost sort of vice versa and sort of almost transverse tactics against each other. So a pop-up versus a bottom bait, zig versus fishing on bottom, long rigs versus short rigs.
John versus Simon.
John versus
Simon.
No, it's not John versus Simon. It's not John versus
Does that mean Simon's winning?
I can't keep... I think Simon's winning. Well, after this video goes out, I think Simon's winning 3-2.
Say that louder again, sorry.
3-2.
3-2.
But as I said, we've made a whole thing of it's not me versus Simon, but it is so me versus Simon. It's absolutely painful.
What was the tactic on this one then? I have watched it, obviously, just for the viewer.
I'll be honest with you, Adam. I can't remember, and I probably should have remembered.
Zigs versus bottom bait?
Yes, it was.
Zigs versus bait.
It was zig versus bait, yeah. And to be fair, when we arrived in the area that we'd found the fish, they were going absolutely loopy and had been, previous to the whole lake being completely covered in ice, had been being smacked to pieces on zigs. So we do a rock, paper, scissors or a pick the hand behind the back for the side and then the tactic. And to be fair, everyone in the entire world would have gone zigs. So when I didn't get zigs, I cried essentially. And Simon, who by his own admission isn't a massive zig angler, went straight for zigs. I thought, oh man. So not only does he not really fish that tactic, he's got the tactic that I think I would have picked, but it transpired that overbait was the one. And yeah, as I say,
you have to watch it to find out, John.
Yeah, you have to watch it to find out. So please click the link. But yeah, it was a session, and as I say, I think my personal highlight is when Simon sent me the sort of outtakes reel, which I hope has come out by the time that this will come up, is possibly one of the creme de la cremes of outtake reels.
Oh, really?
To the point where I was like, if the video doesn't come out, can we still just somehow put out this?
Can we launch that?
Can we launch just the reel? But as I said, for anyone that's not watched it, please do, because I get paid per view. I don't, that's a lie. But it is a great series, and essentially it gives you at home the ability to get involved, set some challenges, send us some venues as well, because that is always one of the biggest things. So if you are a venue looking for a video to be filmed there, please let us know. But yeah, essentially, great thing. And as I said, it's something that we've got some really excited stuff set up for 2026, very, very early into 2026 as well.
You've got some big projects, haven't you?
Yeah.
Really big projects.
Yeah. So, yes. So if you haven't watched it, watch it. If you have watched it, hope you enjoyed.
Yeah, no, I've like I say, I've had a look
You
through
haven't
it.
looked
I've had
at
a
it.
look.
You haven't
I knew
looked
it
at
was zigs versus overbait, to be honest.
I'm glad you
After Ed
see,
mentioned
I
it.
see Ed panicking. I don't even know.
I'm guessing Frank didn't watch it. He's sat quietly over there. What on that?
I do watch them. I've just not watched that one.
Just not watched that one yet. I mean, it has literally just come out.
Well, it hasn't technically come out.
No, it's not come out on, but we've seen it. We've got it sat ready to go.
That's why I've not seen it.
Yeah, yeah. There we go. Good point, Frank. Well done. Well done.
You win.
That's why I've not watched it, John.
Yeah.
No,
so-
it's. I think it's a great series. I've watched quite a few of them
I
now.
like it, yeah.
And I think it's an interesting one as well, because it kind of does what you do with your fishing, where you were saying where you chop and change, and it can show how different one tactic works, doesn't it? And how much better one angler is out of the two of you.
Yeah, I want to see one of you using the method.
Yeah, well, you've got to put a comment in the box below.
Yeah,
Frank.
we'll do.
Maybe we need a guest episode with Frank versus you two.
No.
No, absolutely not. Not a chance. No, the versus things makes you sweat. I don't need any.
Hang on, they've got a winning formula at the moment.
Yeah, I'd have thought, maybe they have to try and team up to beat Frank. It'd be,
give over.
Yeah.
Don't be ridiculous.
Yeah.
on the old method on Parker, I think you'd do well to catch up. Destroy it. Destroy it. And then our next video, Ed, you'll know more about this than the rest of us. Forbidden Routes. Old
Yes.
Jack himself. What's the score with that one, mate?
Jack goes to France. I think he fishes a few waters around France and catches some very nice fish. There's definitely a couple of canals in there and quite a special lake in France. Yeah, all public as well. It's not a commercial lake. It's not anything else. It's just something he's either stumbled across or found from his mates and whatever else, and just fished these places for the first time. And it's quite exciting fishing, because even he doesn't know what's in these lakes. He's fishing. He's just heard that they've done some big fish, and he's gone out there. And it's a good video.
The boy is a proper
We're going
public,
Jack on.
like,
We're going Jack
Yeah,
on.
I think
we'll
we've
get
got
him.
Jack on in a few more
100%.
podcast time. But yeah, Jack's a bit of a terminator on that Euro fishing now, and he's got it down to a T, those publics. He's got the pins, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I know we need to get him drunk one night and steal his phone off him to get those pins, because he has got the pins.
He was working with me at Sandown Show, and I was trying to get some information out of him. And he pulled his maps up, and it was just like there weren't much map there. It was all pins.
It was
like,
red dots, no water.
Can I have a couple of them? It's like, yeah, you can have this one.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, yeah.
You could have this one that's got 0 next to it. Go knock yourself out.
Go and enjoy yourself.
That pin thing's mad though.
What, with people who've got them like that?
Because I've not ever done.
I've got
when
3
people-
now.
This whole, I got a pin. I'm like, oh, showbiz. And then when you see some people's pin, you're like, oh, you've got pins.
Yeah.
You've got
Yeah,
absolute
yeah.
mad pins.
I'm guessing have you done much public fishing, Frank, or not really in like France and stuff?
I've done some, but not a monster amount.
Is this Frank on for the next Public Dreams then, to get him out there doing a bit of that?
Could be, couldn't
I
it?
think that could be a
Oh,
really
wow,
good
yeah.
one.
I mean, I fished some. It's just that some of the ones that I had earmarked to go to were a bit rough, around Leon.
Oh,
Yeah.
Leon. Yeah, I've heard there's a few
Yeah, there's 3
dodgy
big,
venues around there.
yeah, there's 3 big waters there, and I had planned to go, 20 odd years ago, and then keep going, because the fish were massive by any standards, and but it's just too rough. Drug
us the
addicts
pins,
going around
Frank.
the.
send us a pin.
Let's get a map of Leon and look in the
I'm going
middle.
to say, he had an ordnance survey just with it crossed out on back then, didn't you?
Talking about Jack as well, I've been to Belgium quite a lot,
Yeah.
and, probably more than Jack has. over the years, and he was struggling one time to find a venue that was suitable because where he'd gone to was fishing poor. So I described it to where to go and told him the village, but he wanted the exact swim. You know, he says, "No, drop us a pin." I said, "Oh, don't do all that sort of stuff."
Yeah, just go and find it and hope for the
I'd
best.
love Frank to put a drawing pin in there.
Audience survey map. There you go.
Just a little cut out of the audience survey map. I'm like, Jack, forbidden my route.
Absolutely brilliant. No, because you've done loads of that. I mean, you were talking to me. You've got a big trip in January, have you?
I'm going. Yeah.
Can you mention the venue?
Yeah, the Surf Lake.
Yeah, those fish in there are unbelievable.
That's probably my favourite lake in the world.
Yeah, proper carp as well.
Yeah,
Like
it's
we were
fabulous.
sat last week, weren't we, going through them? What a
Some bad boy
stock.
fish. Some bad boy
It's
fish.
just something else, that place.
Yeah, different animal. Have you fished that lake quite a lot over the years as well, you were saying?
Yeah, I've been friendly with the guys that run it. It's like a syndicate and a club. And I've been friendly with them since about 98. I've been going. That was when I did that challenge that I was telling you about.
Yeah,
That
what
was
you
a bit
said,
crazy.
that was out there.
Yeah. So that was the first time I went. But we've become real good mates. So I like to go and see all the boys. I know everyone that fishes it. And so it's not just about the fishing. It's about seeing my old mates as well, you know. So,
And what's going on over
Yeah,
there. And I mean,
yeah.
I'll just throw a couple of the shots up now of some of them fish that you showed me from the old ones on there.
Yeah.
Some absolutely awesome carp there. Absolutely mega fish. I mean, how
That's
big
brilliant.
was that big in that mirror?
66.
Proper carp in it. And as well, like, because they're bigger than that now in there as well, aren't they?
Yeah, they've been up to £75.
And you've planned to go there straight after Den Bosch, have you? Or when Den Bosch is
I'm
on?
going. Oh, you've just let the cat out.
I was going to say, wow.
No, I'm not down to do the Den Bosch show. I would have done it, but it was like, you know, earmarked to do different shows around Europe. And that wasn't one on my rota, on my list. So I'm being crafty. I thought, well, I could choose any time I wanted to go in January. So I chose the weekend where
He's a clever man.
everyone in the syndicate will be at the show.
He's not messed around.
Well, what we're going to do when we're in Den Bosch, we're going to send everyone down to Surf Lake to go and get your signature.
Come and
do it
So you're going to
again.
be busier at Surf Lake than what you would be at Den Bosch.
Talking about the shows there, you'll love this segue as well, John.
Yeah, I love a segue.
Talking about the shows there as well, we've had a big question off the back of the show so far, and that is about the new overwraps. So they're now in stock. I've got my one. I've not used it yet. For a proper trip, I'll be getting out probably next week and having a go with it. You've obviously used one a bit with the filming.
Yeah.
Yeah. The big question we've had with these overwraps is about the vents on the back, and it's something that I think the prod
The lack of.
the lack
vents.
of vents. So the product guys have been like gagging to put something out and a video out, and we said, you know what, we'll talk about it in the podcast, and then we'll put a separate video out. But basically, I just wanted to explain to people why those vents on there. So John did some stuff testing with the thermal camera and stuff. That's a lot of the other testing that we did with the wraps over the time, and it uses, what do we call it? Thermal Edition Aquatex.
Correct.
And it got that like silver backing on
it. Looks like the marathon, what you'd get at a marathon, but it's obviously a much higher technical spec.
Yeah, on the inside. So a
yeah.
bit like the Tech Pro clothing that I know we were out, you were wearing that last week. Absolutely love it. Bounce back your body heat and all that.
Perfect.
But the reason for the wraps being how they are is basically that silver foil inner, as it were, is designed to sandwich a layer of air between the inside and the outside and stabilize the temperature. And that's the key point there. By stabilizing that temperature, it acts as a big old piece of insulation. You know all about having loads of extra insulation wrapped around you, don't you, John?
Fact joke.
And with that, it just helps to actually maintain the temperature inside the bivvy. So do you remember how big the difference was even in the summer? The outside was something crazy, wasn't it?
I think it was 10 to 12 degrees, and not 10 to 12 degrees by us being silly. Like, as honest as that clip that is now definitely out there to be seen, we literally, because I was thinking, how are we going to, in essence, not muff it, but make it look as best you can. From the outside to that inside, it was 10 degrees, and the bed, the mat, the walls, everything was that 10 degrees. It wasn't a spot. That whole inner is 10 degrees cooler than that outer material.
Yeah, so the basic thing that kind of we wanted to explain really with it is that. So the vents on there, obviously, some people want the vents, you want to open it right up and stuff in the day, but actually the wrap then doesn't work to its full capability. You don't get the insulation properties. It's a bit like, can you imagine getting double glazed windows and punching an hole through one of them? It wouldn't work quite how it's supposed to. And it's something obviously worth mentioning with the wraps. Like I say, they're now available in Trakker retailers. Check them out. I really like mine. I've not done a proper cold trip in it yet, but I'm looking forward to it for that reason. In the summer, I'm all right in the winter, get layered up and everything, but in the middle of summer when you can't get out of the heat.
Oh, trust me.
Parko, I'm guessing, is like that, is it? Because there's quite a lot of big naked areas on Parko.
It can be, yeah, but I've been in October. Frank's been in all sorts of silly temperatures.
I think that's overwrap. Its main thing for me is that fact that
more than the winter.
It keeps your bivvy cool in the summer, because when you're out of control with the heat and you've got no respite and there's no trees, it's brutal. Oh, you've got nowhere to go. And the only shade's your bivvy, and it's like an oven. Well, that does work. That silver stuff bounces the heat back and makes it like a refrigerator inside. As that sort of refrigerating,
makes a big old difference.
It's ridiculous.
I think the overriding thing to say, and this is a big love to the product development boys, if they've not done something or done something, it's for a very, very, very good reason, especially when they're meddling with materials and things like that. They've done that for a reason. And as you say, punching a hole in a double glaze does nothing.
It doesn't work anymore, yeah. So like I said, that was just something that, it's a question we've been asked loads, and it's something we're going to try and do on the podcast as well, is we want to answer your general questions about the fishing and stuff, the ones you put in. But if you have got product questions, drop them down below as well, guys, and one of us will do our best to either jump straight on and answer them, or if we think it's going to be something that's better explained on the next podcast, we'll let you know about them and let you know about anything that's coming in or out of stock. So yeah, proper bit of kit, that overwrap, and one that I'll definitely be using myself. And that leads us into our final chapter, really, of the podcast. I know you're probably gutted that you're losing us.
Chapter?
It's been long enough. And that's going to be captures that you guys are going to send in. Now, obviously, with it being our first one of the series of them, we've not got any photos from you guys yet. But what we have got for chucking up on the screen here is our favourite captures of 2025. I think coming to the end of the year, it's a great time to talk about them in the UK. I know, John, you're sat there wincing in your seat.
I know how terrible mine is.
But I think there's only one man to start with this.
We should start with Ed.
I think we should start with Ed.
Me again.
Yeah,
okay.
I like
so
this.
let's chuck her up on the screen there. Ed, for anybody listening, you are holding what can only be described as a pit bull with scales. It's an absolute monster, that one, mate. Tell us a little bit about it. So what fish is it, first of all?
It's Tyson. Really pleased to catch that. And it took me 4 nights to catch it.
4 nights this year.
4 nights this year.
How many nights in total, genuinely, do you think it took, that one? Because it took how many years, first of all?
11. It took
11
me 11. Well, 11 years on and off. So I first joined the water in 2014.
Right.
Fished it for 3 years. Fished it first year pretty hard. Fished it next 2 years in spring and sort of prime times. Dropped for 2 years. I can't remember what I was fishing now, but yeah, I dropped it for 2 years. Then went back on for another 2 years. Then my welly ticket come up, and Wellington Country Park is $2,500, and I couldn't really afford anywhere else on top of that. So dropped it for another 2. Got back on last year, did a year, few nights, and then this year finally got the fish that I was after.
That is an 11-year smile.
That is
an
11-year
smile, and I love it.
It's absolutely awesome. Like, what a creature. How big was it, mate?
57.12.
57.12.
Yeah, really happy with that.
Pasty.
Yeah.
It's not just that, though, Ed. It's such a fantastic shot as well, that, isn't it?
Yeah, that water shot. I mean, Ollie did you proud there when he came down, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, yeah. That was actually underneath my rods at the time, so the rods are going over the top. He's got the camera as low as possible because he didn't bring his waders. Rookie mistake for a cameraman. So he's trying to balance on the bank underneath my rods to take that shot, so yeah.
What a shot as well. Big old cheesy grin. I like seeing anglers smiling with carp.
100,000%.
I'm not a big fan of this. I mean, I'm pretty sure when we get to my one, I'm looking miserable, but I do like a big cheesy dirty grin when you're holding up a carp. It makes it, doesn't it? And like you say, that is an 11-year smile.
That's an 11-year smile, and bloody well so should it be.
Yeah,
I was really pleased. The daft thing was as well, the lake got really busy that day.
Oh, really?
So there was, somebody said the night before there was one person on.
Right.
Then when I got there were 5 people down, and apparently that swim had been bucketed twice. So literally, as I pulled up in the car park, somebody removed a bucket to go and fish for a fish they'd seen down the other end. And I got in there, I thought, oh, it's a nice central swim, fish are passing, whatever else, put the bucket down. I had a little look for a bit, one went, oh, that'll do. Had a bit of a walk around, come back. I was around the other side, one went straight in that swim again. Come back round, duff, duff. Oh, there we go. Sorted. Fish in the swim. Yeah, no other choice. Because all it was, I was never supposed to fish that night. And I just thought, oh, I've got an evening. I said to the missus, are we going out? Are we doing anything this evening? She said, no. So I'm going fishing then. Because the only way I found to target that fish was time of year.
Was it all about very time of year?
It'd been out every single swim of the lake. It'd been out on singles, been out on particle, been out over big beds of boilie, been out over a scatter of boilie, been out on everything. There was no way to target that fish except the last week in May. So the first 3 years I fished it came out the first week in May. Did some research, came out the first 2 years of that first week in May. Year after that, it came out the first week in June. So that little period there was the only way to target it.
It was like the golden slice. I mean, you see it a lot, don't you, with fish, to be fair, where they like throw the guard down, don't they, for that little window every year.
Yeah.
There's a special time on, I think, every lake where those fish get
And that
caught.
lake will now be chock-a-block now.
Yeah, it probably will be.
I've had it, so get lost.
But as well as the other way that lake fished is in a pressure drop. So not at the bottom of the drop. As soon as it started to drop, that's when it fished. And down here, it was average shit.
Really?
So people, it's a high pressure water. You're catching the high pressure. Because I've had fish off the deck in 12 foot, 10 foot, in 26 degrees. It's been scorching. You're sitting there absolutely red hot and you're getting bites off the deck. It's like, oh, it's high pressure water because it's the start of that drop. So they almost know a big drop's coming. So that bit it fishes, and then down here it's just,
Yeah, one of those.
And then that's what happened there. It was the start of a drop, the right time of year. So I said to the missus, I've gone out for a quick night. And caught that.
I think it just goes to show as well, doesn't it? Like, you can't catch them at home. I know it's an old saying, but it's so right. If you think it's right for it, if you can pull those strings, that bit of brownie points you've built up with the missus, that little bit of toil you've got at work, get yourself out there. Because, 11 years, it could have as easily been another 4 or 5 years before you caught it, or never, you don't know. You've got to be there on the day, aren't you, with a fish like that that's so sporadic in its patterns of where and how it gets caught. But
it's the same as choco. When I fished for that, there was no rhyme or reason for that. Every single swim it had come out of was a different swim to where it had been caught before. There was no area it fed. There was a bait it got caught a lot on. The Trent bait lads caught a lot of the big fish on there pretty much straight away. They didn't catch anywhere near as much as some of us were catching, but they were caught.
They were catching the big ones, yeah.
Yeah, but in terms of where to catch it from and patterns and time of year, so choco was a full moon, but it was just so sporadic in terms of where it come from. And that was the same. You just couldn't target it really. So, I could have been another 10, 11 years on there.
Yeah, you never know. I think as well that like May time, it's a great time for big fish in it. It's a time that they tend to get caught. I know water up near our way, Frank, that we spoke about the other day with like Clifton Marina, Angry comes out on the same moon phase in that time of year. Every year it's like clockwork, and it's mad how much time of year I think can be such a big factor in those big uns. And I bet you just chuffed to have got it over and done with now, mate, aren't you? You can go on to pastures new, and it's kind of gone out the back of your mind now, innit? I bet it's been hard fishing other places knowing that's
the back of your mind. If that's out the back of your mind, you're in trouble.
But the one good thing about waiting 11 years for it was 47 when I first started fishing there, and now it's 57. So
it was well worth it. Absolutely well worth it. We'll go from there on to Frank with a real special one from this year. So Frank, again, we're looking here at a big old common on the screen. Northern Common. There's going to be a few commons in this, by the way.
We've already started this Northern service.
First of all, for viewers not looking at it at the moment, a bit different to Ed's. This one's a much darker fish, a little bit more of that mahogany wood carving. It's got unusual scales in it. I know it's a thing for that lake, isn't it, Frank?
The commons on this lake in Cheshire, they've got massive scales. Now, if you look at most commons and count the rows of scales down from the dorsal to the belly, there's 13 rows, generally speaking.
Yeah, as an average.
As a guide. Well, these have got 10. If you count down, it's 10.
Yeah, they're almost like a mommon.
They're massive, the scales. And that was 46-1.
Yeah, proper old carp as well, isn't it?
Massive for Cheshire.
Yeah, that's the second capture this year. Caught it twice.
So 11 years to catch it. Now catch it twice in a season, mate. No need to worry about that.
It does look like the lines that you're about to say are written on the back of that carp and you're trying to read them with that photo. Look, is a 46 pound.
What an absolute pig.
Mega fish. Okay.
You've had a few other mega ones from there as well, haven't you? I mean,
Yeah.
Is that the big one in the lake? Is it that one?
Yeah, unfortunately, the biggest mirror and the biggest common died last December. There was a big oxygen crash. After we had that sort of weird weather about the end of October and November.
Yeah.
The beginning of December, where it was flat calm, not a breath of wind for weeks. And unfortunately, something happened with the oxygen content of the lake, and the big ones were the first to suffer, and the two biggest fish in the lake died.
Oh, really?
I had the lake record the previous year that was 46-14.
Right, okay.
And that one died, called Jimbo. And the big mirror, which was a just incredible fish, black spot, that was 45 and a half when I had it last. And then that unfortunately passed away.
Yeah, but I mean, it ain't a bad second in command, is it?
No,
As far as they go,
well, that's going to be a monster. That is,
he's
no
got
doubt about it.
huge fins as well. Hasn't
Yeah,
it?
it's
Absolutely
the
massive.
the pecs on it were bigger than my hands.
I mean, it's a
huge.
similar thing, to be fair. When you look at Tyson, that's got massive pecs as well.
Yeah.
I'm presuming for both of you, did they rook proper
Oh
scrappers?
yeah. I was fishing locked up solid to. Pads. You're not allowed to use braid, so I was using I was using 29-pound nylon.
Yeah.
Breaking strain, which seems a bit over the top, but it's not that thick. But don't give them an inch. Have the butt rings behind the buzzers.
Everything jammed
Everything
right
just locked solid, and I was on it in a nanosecond. I always sit close to the rods, and you can't sleep on there. You're kind of sleeping with one eye open
because you're just expecting that absolute
God.
screeching up to the top.
Can you imagine
carbon curving
like
chaos.
trying to stop a charging bull? It went absolutely
ballistic.
Mad.
What was Tyson like? Because I saw
Completely different.
Oh, really?
Completely different, yeah. Literally, I didn't even know it was a bite to start off with. So I was fishing quite slack lines. And the bobbin just tightened up, went to the top, didn't even come out the clip. And then I went out to get the rod, and it just dropped back a little bit. I thought, big liner. Then just moved up one beep. Still didn't go tight. I thought, all right, something on here. Wound down. Thought it was a tench. Wound it in. I was fishing at 70 yards. Wound it in about 30, 40 yards. Yeah, it's a tench. And then it stopped halfway and just went.
And just sat. Yeah.
And then just ripped off and just went slowly but firmly, taking loads of line off the clutch, like just whizzing. And it's at that moment I knew it was Tyson.
I was going to say, did you think it was then?
Yeah. I knew.
Worst bit
It
as
was.
well.
It was no surprise when I put it in the net that it was Tyson from there, because I'd photographed it 6 times before. I'd spoke to that many anglers that had caught it, and so many anglers said the bite's just terrible. It just tightens you up.
Oh, really?
Just bounces a rod tip or just flicks the line. And there's so many that have wound it in and just got it in the net before it's done anything when they've had it in close. Or they've done what happened to me, they got it halfway and then it just rips off and just gone. And as soon as it turned and went, I thought, crap bite, wound it in 30 yards for nothing, then rips off and then beat the crap out of me thereafter.
Went, this is it.
This is it. And it was. I didn't see it until it was in the net. And when I looked in the net, I just wasn't surprised at all. I just knew it was that fish. It's hard to describe. There was just no surprise whatsoever. Yeah, that's Tyson. I just knew it was as soon as I was playing
I bet
it.
you didn't say, yeah, that's Tyson.
Yeah.
You 100% might have said a few more other things. Than,
I think there was.
I was like, Ollie, get down here! Come and do the road test now!
Text the whole company. Because I can remember waking up to the text. They're like, John, where are you? And I'm thinking, at 2:00 at night, Ed, I'm probably in bed. And I can remember Tyson, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, yeah. And he said, oh, he's on the way, sick. And Frank, that is,
Yeah, that one.
The wrist of that tail is outrageous.
Well, I'll tell you something interesting with that one. I have these sort of weird premonitions. You've probably been there when I come out with these.
Yeah.
And my dad died in January, and I wanted a fish to remember him with, and that was the one. That was just after his birthday, the first time out, and I thought I'm going to catch a cracker. So that was that one.
Yeah, what a mega way to do it, man, as well, with a fish like that, like an awesome carp. Cheshire's kind of finest, really, as well. Yeah, mega carp. We'll move round to have a little bit of a change from a common carp. Let's have a look at...
I was going to say put the comment up first.
Put mine up first and we'll leave on yours?
No, put my comment up first.
We have got your comment.
And people will be laughing now. Now, because it is only a mid £20 common, but it's got more.
Oh, we counted them that small.
Yeah, no, yeah, you can.
Okay.
You can, guys. Please feel free to send in double figure fish.
I didn't know they came in that small.
But I'm happy to take the fall on this because for anyone who's there, so this is a Farrier's common, and essentially, I don't want to go into too much detail, but a terrible tragedy happened not long. Well, actually, on the Wednesday before this match started on the Thursday, and I had all my kit pinched, and the only thing that I had to go to a competition was some borrowed kit from the office. And I had 1 pack of hooks and 1 tub of hook baits. And that fish was what sealed the Farrier's Championship for me this year. And in what has essentially been a poor year for English fishing for me with big fish, I've caught a lot of numbers, but not anything big. That fish for me will probably be one of my standout captures for the year because it sealed the deal to win a championship after what had been a really crap day before leading up to it, and a competition I've entered numerous times and come second and third. And it was something that I wanted to do. It's a silly little syndicate competition, but the conditions that I caught in personally, where I didn't have, like we're talking about changing options, new venue, blah, blah, blah. I knew that I can catch them on yellow pop-ups, and I had about as much stuff to make some yellow pop-up rigs.
That was about it.
And that fish, yeah, as I said, and to me, that represents what fishing can be for people. It doesn't have to be a big one. It doesn't have to be a long pursuit. It could be a random mid-20 that sealed a deal for something that trophy sits pride of place in my office at home because it symbolizes sort of the sunshine out of the rain for me.
I think it's one of them as well that kind of, it can show how powerful fishing can be as well to pull you out of a rut. I think, something that we don't speak about around the table, I know it's something we spoke about in the past, is kind of that side of stuff with blokes not talking about the feelings and all that, but fishing is a great way when you're feeling crap to get out. And like you say, it can change. I was with you the day that everything happened and stuff got nicked, and I spoke to you the next day when you'd had that one, and you were a different human. You were
and as I
buzzing
said,
again.
I think, when we spoke about having a smile, that smile, I can remember feeling that feeling, thinking, I could go in this competition, you guys.
You were on cloud 9.
Yeah, 100%. And it proves that they don't have to be big. They don't have to necessarily be ridiculously beautiful. A carp can mean something because it means something.
So next one we're looking at now, John, is...
I get 2 fish because they've got big uns.
Yeah.
And I got to add 2 together, and it's still not as big. It's not as big as Ed's together.
No,
it's a good job because I only caught one this year, so
that one, for the viewers at home, it is a proper plated up, a scaly banger, I think the term is nowadays, isn't it?
Please don't ever associate. I once did a meme of a sausage with scales on it and a fish's head and tail. So anytime I saw someone put scaly banger, I just posted that and went, one of these, thinking I was a legend.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it turned out I annoyed a load of people with that.
But no, proper pretty fish. I stumbled my words there. So tell me about this one, mate.
A syndicate fish. As I said, I haven't had an awful lot of personal fishing, what I call personal fishing, because they are very, very different things. For anyone that says, oh, you live in the dream, you're fishing all the time. Yes, I am fishing all the time. Yes, I love what I do for work. Ed, please note that. But a lot of the times, I put my hand in my purse, buy my own ticket, and when you don't get an awful lot of time to do it, something like that changes the whole year. So I've had a couple of sessions that really didn't pay off, a few plans that didn't come together, but then, as I said, the lake fishing is full of like those absolutely insane scaly ones. And yet again, the smile says it all, I think.
Proper worldly, that one, isn't it?
It's a world, but yet again, that is meatball head Flewin because it's the start of the year.
I'd say you're quite a lot chunkier.
And let's talk about that haircut, shall we?
What's going on there?
That's Superman stroke. Is my forehead that big?
Your forehead is that big.
That's a 5 head.
That's a big
That's
old
insane. And then the little kiss curl. Just for the ladies.
Is that what? Yeah, well, it looks a bit like a girl's haircut to me, that one.
I can't say what people used to call my haircut because I'd probably get banned. But yeah, you should say I look like a fat lesbian.
I thought it was more the housewife's favourite with little curl kiss. But
yeah, as I said, yet again, another testament to when they go in the net, they can mean a lot more. So it's a 30-pounder, so I'm not absolutely knocking it off at the hook at the net by any stretch. But as I said, and I'm super excited because between that and another lake I'm on for 2026, where for the first time I am targeting a fish, which is a complete devoidance from what my normal fishing is. There is one fish from that lake that, not just me, but
It's a
lot of
it's a
people
banger
onto
as
it.
well. It's
Yeah,
an absolute banger.
It's
that
an
one.
insane fish that I want to try and catch, hopefully this year. But that to me symbolizes my fishing. You know, if I can get out, put a few hooks into some fish, I'm happy. And yeah, it was one of those ones there, not necessarily had the greatest end to the year previous, something like that.
But yeah, what a carp.
It's a special carp.
Yeah,
but
mega
the lake,
pretty one.
the lake is full of them. So yeah, hopefully we'll show a few more of them over the year.
Yeah, I reckon next year there'll be a few more of them.
Yeah,
turning
fingers
up.
crossed, mate.
Definitely, mate. And then that just rounds round to me. And actually, Frank on his premonition thing, I'd say this one I owe Frank quite a lot for. So I'll let John describe it rather than me describe my own, because obviously I'd say it's a big old dirty
That is
warrior.
a beautiful common. Nice tail, heart tail common, big chunk. Yeah, that's a banging fish, mate. Please tell us more.
Yeah, so so this one was one that I've been after for a couple of seasons, and it's from my syndicate up north from Clearwater, that's like right on the brink of the Lancashire-Cumbria border, properly northern.
Is it from up north? Is it?
Up north, yeah,
Is
you
it?
know,
Right.
where
So-
they count.
So
Yeah,
that's like
Okay.
a proper northern fish.
Yeah,
Can I
yeah.
put, like,
More
add 10
northern
pounds?
Well, mine was from Northampton. You know, that's
it's got north.
That's
in the
north.
Clue is in the name.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it was mega spawned out, but I really didn't care. It was a 39-pounder when I had it. But what a mega carp. And like I say, when I say that I kind of owe Frank for the capture of this one, basically when I first joined the lake, you know, you have like I say don't have a preconceived idea really, but you have like a preconceived idea that an area or a spot, and I'd like lived the session in my head 1,000 times out of this swim that I was going to have a big one out of it. No one fishes it. At the time, I presumed that was going to be cream for them. When I joined, everyone went, none of them live in that side of the lake, mate. All the big ones come out the other side. I never went near it. I kept putting bait in there for 18 months. Never wet a line in there. And I was out with Frank doing some filming, spoke to him about it, and he went, mate, that's a premonition. You have to go on there. You have to drop in there. And that was my first trip in there.
I remember that
Yeah,
conversation.
we literally sat there and Frank went, mate, you've got to do it. You've got to drop in. So I upped my bait in a little bit. That fish has never come from that area of the lake. So as much as I'd fished where it lives on the days it comes out, as much as I could, it hadn't been out all year from the areas it should have come out from. Dropped into a swim that's never done any of the big uns. Off the back of Frank kicking me in the arse and saying, you need to go and do it. And I sent you a message actually that morning, didn't I, saying you were bloody right. My second bite that morning, boom, that one was in the back of the net. And a PB common for me as well. I'd never really fished. I fished for big commons and always got unlucky that they'd either snuffed it before I got to them, or I'd kind of ended up moving away and stuff from the areas and not fishing that lake anymore. But yeah, that was the first time I went, I am going to stay till I catch this.
And the nice thing is like you said, it's always nice to see people with a smile.
There's a slight grimace there.
Is that
I
what that
think.
is? It looks like you're breaking wind. bro.
Yeah, I think, I'll be honest, I think I was a bit emotional holding it up rather than grinning with that
Is
one.
this the fish where you do the bit on the phone?
Yeah, the one where
you were emotional.
have a small breakdown over it. Like, I think when you pick a target fish, I don't know about yourself, like Ed, you've obviously done a lot of target fishing, and with Frank, and
Not me.
yeah, the bits that you've done of it though, that you live that moment that many times before it happens in your head. When it happens, it's mega. It's like the most special thing you can think of. Yeah.
It always takes a while for me for it to sink in. Don't know why.
Oh, really?
And it's normally after it's gone back. That's when I get, because as soon as
All
I've
the
caught
second
it, it's like,
bottle.
right, I've got to get some decent photographs, got to get a bit of video footage, got to do this, got to make sure it's right. That's where we're doing this. Is the camera charged? Is it right? So all this going through my head, I don't enjoy it till after the fish is gone.
Yeah,
Second bottle of champagne.
yeah, second bottle.
Yeah.
I think
About
it's,
then it kicks in.
Down the booze, 12 pints later, celebrate.
I just remembered I caught that fish.
I think it's like it's when everyone leaves, isn't it? That's when it sinks in. So
Yeah,
I've had it with quite a few over the years where you get everyone come around the swim to do the photos and that, and they all leave, and it's when you sat there soaking wet on your bed chair, kind of it's all done and dusted, that you go, oh my God, that did just happen. Like you sat looking at the photos on your phone to check that you'd not just had a bit of a weird lucid dream. You're going, crap, it did happen.
That's the one thing I miss with Tyson. I had a choice to make, either a swim full of people and to enjoy the moment, or to get the video and photos done properly.
And you had to pick the video side.
Yeah, no, I went away thinking, I wish I'd had everybody round, because nobody knew about it until I had that shot in the water of it, and everybody then saw it. It's like, what's he got?
Oh,
It's a
really?
big one.
Oh.
It's a big one. And then I let it go and then shouted Tyson, and then the phone started going.
I think that's like one of the special moments in it when you put the shout out as well. And yeah, I think that's a mega time. I know it's like the old cliche Yateley thing in it, putting the shout out.
I've never done that, mate.
Have you not?
No.
I've fished quite a few of the waters where you do it, and yeah, everyone comes round. It's that friendly atmosphere. You don't really get it up north, to be fair. Like everyone backstabbing everyone, trying to most of the time, and not wanting to. It's not that people don't want each other to succeed. It's there's only a handful of big uns scattered around lakes. But yeah, it's nice when you've got that atmosphere with everyone with you.
To me, it'd be like getting a loudspeaker and announcing to everyone you'd lost your cherry.
Did you not do that? I made a YouTube video. I did a product review. But no, that's kind of rounds it up. So with that for next time, obviously, we don't just want to be showing our carp on here. We want to be seeing you guys' carp, and whether it's £2 or it's £100, we don't care. We just want the story and a great photo. And what we ask is that you send them in to our email address that is, can you confirm it for me, Ed?
Trakker-talk, or is it .talk?
.talk.
Trakker.talk at cypherint.com.
So I'll pop that up on the screen. So that's trakker.talk at cypherint.com. If you send them into there with a description and a story, make sure you include your name on there, because we don't want to be calling you barbiegirl@hotmail.com if that's what your email happens to be. And the opportunity is to win a little prize. And I believe, Frank, you're going to be the man who's going to be delivering that prize. So what is it we've got for people on each one?
A copy of my book,
Yep.
Every Bit of Blue, and inside I'll do a drawing.
He says he'll do a drawing.
He's drawing.
He's
drawing.
He was adamant there's no drawing, but now there's a drawing.
Oh, no, it makes it a little bit more special.
Yeah.
And Adam's just said you're going to deliver it as well.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm not delivering it.
Yeah. So the first winner is from the Isle of Wight.
Is it Simon Dew?
Yeah. Okay, I'll deliver it. And if your wife's pregnant, I'll deliver that as well.
He's a man of many talents.
And on that bombshell.
And I think, there is no better way to round it off. So thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to give the channel a like and subscribe, and comment down below anything you want to see on future podcasts. And it's a goodbye from all of us.
Yeah, cheers.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Catch you soon.
Trakker Talk, a carp fishing podcast.